Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to the Matura Express on this Monday evening. My name is Karina and tonight is demonstration exam time. Okay, as I said, welcome back. It's been a while. I hope, even though you are getting closer and closer to your A-levels, you're still fine. Life is still treating you well. As I said, it's demonstration exam night, which is quite nice for me, really. I just sit back and listen. The two topics of tonight are, first of all, advertising, which I think is a really nice topic. And the second one is international trade, the bodies in international trade. So institutions like the World Health Organization, the World Bank, and so on and so forth, closely linked to globalization. I guess that is also the link, like the nexus between the two topics. They're all, well, we have international trade and we also need a lot of advertising because of globalization. I guess that is kind of the topic link that also, that's, you know, we kind of bridge. We start with advertising. As I said, one of the topics that I think is really nice to talk about, because we see so much advertising in our lives that it's, you know, we can't really avoid them. It's hard to like not be influenced by advertising. So I guess whatever you are, like whatever question or whatever task you're confronted with, you probably do know something about it. In advertising, a very likely question is the question about advertising strategies. So if you think about the ads that you see on television or the ones that you see on billboards next to the roads, you already do know some of the techniques, like some of the advertising strategies that are behind them. I know that in times of Netflix and Amazon Prime and so on and so forth, we don't watch that much regular TV anymore. And, or at least that's what I do, and that's what I'm told. We are not confronted with that many ads anymore because, well, we can kind of avoid the quite annoying advertisement breaks during movies. But before the exams, I would strongly recommend you watch some, or you have a look. You can have a look on the internet as well. What is out there in terms of advertising and, you know, what strategies they have. Let's have a look at the task. As always, it's a business management class. You talk about marketing strategies and the benefits of advertising. So why is it good? There is people who say that advertising is a bad thing, costs a lot of money, influences us into or tricks us into buying stuff that we don't want, that we don't really need. But advertising does have its benefits as well, definitely. In terms of benefits, think about the benefits for the country. We get a lot of money by advertising. There's a lot of revenue, a lot of income that the state has. It also has personal benefits. We would not be informed about all the products that are out there if we didn't have advertising. So I suppose the benefits one is a pretty easy one. You put together a presentation talking about different advertising strategies that there are. The special role of social media marketing, we are your generation that uses a lot of social media. So that would be an easy one. And also the special role of product placement in today's advertising like world. Also product placement is important in like sports events and stuff, but it's also important in movies. So you may want to think about an example of product placement in a film. Probably the most famous one is James Bond nowadays, who changed his favorite drinks. If you remember, or if you have seen any of the new James Bond movies, you'll know. That's a discussion of some advertising strategies. So you have to explain them into in more detail. So the task is basically, well, I don't know much about advertising, and all the strategies that my partner presented are kind of like, well, I don't really know what to make of them. So here's some concrete examples. He'll then have to explain to me why they work and what the strategy behind them is. I think they're all quite straightforward, I think, to be easy. And then there's the follow-up discussion and some general questions about advertising. I think they are, well, you can think about them at home as well. I think general questions about advertising could be, are you easily influenced by advertising? What do you do during commercial breaks when you watch like a regular movie, and so on and so forth. So that's it. Advertising it will be. Are you ready?
Yes.
That's fantastic. So, ladies and gents, say hi to Chris.
Hello.
Seen him before, so there's some really annoying cables down there. So, all good.
As always, I'm kind of stuck in here. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we're both in the picture. So, well, I'm only sort of in the picture, but I'm not the most important person tonight anyway. So you're here for your A-levels in English.
Yes.
Would you mind telling us who you are?
My name is Chris, and I decided to do the A-levels at the VIFI because I want to be a teacher.
Have you thought about that carefully?
Yes.
Well, that is a very good plan. Is this your first A-level exam, or did you have any?
No, that's my first, actually.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
Well, English is always a good start. Which subjects are you planning on teaching, actually?
Mathematics and physics.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Tough. You'll be the favorite teacher of all the students with this combination of subjects. So, well, tonight's topic is neither very mathematical nor is it really physical.
Yes. Unfortunately.
Well, you'll be fine. Your topic is advertising. Would you mind telling us something about advertising strategies, as there are so many out there in the world?
Yes, of course. So, at first, I want to talk about a few things, actually, not only about advertising strategies. I want to start with the different advertising strategies, and then I'm going to continue with the special role of social media marketing.
Very nice.
Closely followed by the special role of product placement.
Sounds good.
So the different advertisement strategies are basically, there is of course the quite obvious advertisement that is used on billboards and on maybe cinema advertisement, we all know it, and on buses, on trains maybe. And of course there is also some hidden advertisement strategies, such as in product placement. In movies, very, very often certain companies finance a movie, and in return, of course, they get their company name mentioned in the film or placed somewhere in the film. Mm-hmm. For example, a can of Coke or something. Yeah, but we're gonna talk about product placement later. And I'd like to continue with the special role of social media marketing. And therefore, with this aspect is very important, or has become very important. I think, yeah, since actually social media started, so Facebook was the first real big thing, I think. And they, at some point, they realized that it's important or beneficial for them that they offer the companies around the world to do advertisement on Facebook, since it has already, at this point it was already on the internet everywhere was advertisements, some kind of advertisement. So, and therefore social media marketing has become very important. So the companies invest not only in advertisement on Facebook, but they also invest on, for example, sponsoring certain posts or trying to, I don't know if it's the Facebook algorithm or Google, which knows what you're looking for or what your interest is. I think it's your browser. And that's also has something to do with social media marketing, because the companies get some kind of feedback, how much or not how much customers, but who their customers are actually. So are they male, are they female, how old are they, in which product are they most interested. Yeah, that's basically social media marketing. There is a lot of aspects to social media marketing nowadays, but I'd like to continue with product placement. I think product placement nowadays, especially in the times of Netflix, has become a even bigger means for companies to sell their products or to advertise their products, basically. For example, in a movie, no, it's a series called House of Cards.
Oh, nice.
I kind of it was really obvious. They several times they planted Hilti drillers and angle grinders with the Hilti logo in the series, so it was really obvious what they're doing there. And yeah, of course, a lot of other series or films, of course, as for example James Bond, we all know about that. Aston Martin is in there, I don't know, the watches, of course, Martini, and so on and so on. Avis even was in a James Bond film, and there are a lot of things, of course. But product placement can also be in football stadium, for example. Yeah.
Do you, as you mentioned, House of Cards and the Hilti thing, which I did not know, like I've seen House of Cards, but I didn't notice. But then that's probably, well, because stuff like that just passes, my perception. Do you think it's generally a good strategy? Do we notice stuff like that in general? Do we pay attention?
Subconsciously, I think. Yeah. In my case, it was really obvious for me with the Hilti thing. I think it was, and even with the first, forgot the word.
Season?
First season, yeah, I've watched. It was at the very beginning, okay. I think, yeah.
Interesting.
And then again when they started to dig the tunnel and so on. Yeah.
Well, I guess it is a good strategy. Like we all know what car James Bond has, and the odd can of Coke shows up in pretty much every American movie. So I suppose they know what they're doing. You told us at the very beginning what, where we can see advertising nowadays. As you are the expert, would you mind telling us why these ads are successful, like they were for their companies? Can you tell us something about the idea behind it? Like why do they work, or why are they supposed to work?
Well, as I've mentioned with product placement, I think advertisement is something that is at first really subconsciously consciously, yeah.
That one.
And a really big role is with stars or celebrities. They have a big influence on it. Even because I like to play music, even in music, where there are certain brands endorsing musicians, people tend to buy this and that brand of instrument.
Okay.
And the same goes with
Makes sense.
celebrities that wear some kind of, I don't know, watch or a tie or a necklace or I don't know. And of course, some other things are that the product design is very important. And for example, if you have a fancy smoothie bottle that looks really fruity, people rather buy it than a kind of dull-looking glass bottle or something. Yeah, so it goes all down actually to aesthetics.
Definitely. People are so easy to influence nowadays.
Yeah, really easy. So there's also this honey bottle that is actually a bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really nice. That is really nice. Like,
yeah.
so stuff like that would totally work on me, I suppose. You mentioned the celebrities and the connection to whatever it is, like sports or music or whatever.
Yeah.
Why does that work? It's not really logical, is it? Most like the ad that we see here, I don't know much about watches, but if Cristiano Ronaldo is advertising it, a normal person probably won't be able to afford it really.
Mm.
And we know that, don't we? So why do we still want it? Like, we know that this watch is probably too expensive for most people. Like,
yeah, I think the same goes with cards. People will try to get it anyway, even if they're not able to afford it, but they know actually of the brand that he's using. So even if they are not really able to get it because they don't have that much money, they are very aware of that brand actually, and I think that is also causing a big influence and a big maybe if we take the example of Instagram, if people see this watch, people maybe start using, because they want this watch, start using a hashtag with this company. And this, of course, gains momentum and gains kind of, it serves as a free advertisement for the company actually. So, or if they mention the company in Instagram or Facebook, it's really down to social media. I think it's really has become really important.
True. Do you still notice the advertisements on social media? Like, there's so many of them, or do they just, like, there's a difference between seeing stuff and really like properly seeing them. Do you really notice advertisements still?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to enable an ad blocker because it was so annoying. Because I thought, yeah, okay, maybe I can do without it, but now I had to reinstall an ad blocker because it was so super annoying.
Yeah, it is.
And now it's all ad free, and yeah, it's better now because it's I think it's so obvious.
True.
On the internet, it's
What do you think about the thing that you mentioned in the beginning, like the stuff that the internet basically knows what products we're interested in? Is that a dangerous development, or does it come in handy if you, I don't know, if you search for a new musical instrument and then you get all those suggestions without really wanting them? But is that a good thing, or is that?
It can be a good thing. Yeah, it can be a good thing, but in my opinion, it is quite crazy actually that we have come so far that now somebody knows what we want to buy or what we might buy or make suggestions. Yeah, that's kind of actually it's a bit creepy, I think, and I don't like it. And I have never bought an article that has been suggested to me actually.
Okay. Well, I guess it's become so frequent that, you know, those suggestions that I get are probably good. I just don't look at them anymore because there's so many. One last question, then time's almost up. Do you have an ad that you, like when it was still television times, when we didn't have Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff like that, do you have an ad that you find particularly good or particularly bad? And that stuck because of being good or bad?
I think the XXX Lutz ad is pretty annoying, and that's what everyone says. Making me super crazy. And a good ad might be. I think I had one, but I think it doesn't. It wasn't on television. It was on radio.
Oh, okay.
Seidenbacher Müsli.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Well,
that's awesome. Actually, it's a really good ad.
But it's a radio
yeah,
one. Okay.
It's Seidenbacher.
Well, yeah, they are. Well, radio advertisement is a whole different thing. They have to be really good acoustically. So yeah, I think that was it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. In an ideal world, my file would be a PDF file, and I would have been able to write on it. But then this is not an ideal world, so I'll try to remember the things that I thought were good. One thing that he did really well in the beginning was talking about the 3 bullet points, because I didn't like the way I started the conversation was kind of like jumping right into the topic. But then one of the things that you should do is, well, telling us what to do, give us a rough outline of what you're talking about. So this was really good. Because, well, your interlocutors or your examiners should know what you're talking about, and they should be informed. So this was really well done. I thought that what he said about social media marketing was really good as well. Also the point about the advertisements that we discussed in the end, that we don't really want, is a very good aspect. You probably have noticed that yourself. Whatever you click on, like, I'm one of those people who always looks for like new travel destinations, and I check out a lot of hotel web pages and airline web pages and stuff like that. So I constantly keep getting suggestions from like all different types of offers. So that is a very good thing. Definitely has to do with social media marketing as well. There's a whole like complex of social media marketing. The examples of product placement were really good as well. A change, for example, my standard product placement example would always be James Bond with the many things that feature. Nowadays also Heineken, because the new James Bond has started to drink Heineken. So you see green Heineken bottles everywhere in the movie. But the House of Cards example was really good. Also quite interesting. Good show, by the way. Watch it if you're looking for a good show.
Spoiler it.
True. Yeah, we talked about the advertising strategies as well. Here in the one in the left hand or in the right hand corner, let's start with that one. You could have, or Chris could have pointed out that it has this thing in the corner saying honest ad, basically emphasizing or basically juxtaposing it with other ads that are a lie. So this ad says, well, I'm an honest ad. We have that in Austrian television as well. I think it's for some kind of apple juice or something. They like really say that they're not gonna lie to us in their ads and that their ad is an honest one. So yeah, I suppose he could have talked about that. The Coke ads is really old nowadays. It's one of the so-called lifestyle ads. So you have those puppets. They also exist in real life nowadays. So Coke decided to produce them. They are sort of like Barbie dolls, really. In the ad, they do some fancy dancing because, well, that's why they are called lifestyle ads, because they give you this feeling of like a happy day and everything is like fresh and easy and fun as soon as you start to drink Coke Light. One of my favorite ads, I don't know why, I always liked it a lot. So we have celebrity endorsement in the first picture, Cristiano Ronaldo advertising watches. Here we have an ad that is, well, first of all, it's a connection. It's either kitchen roll or toilet paper, can't really tell. Either of the two. Yeah. So, you know, you have this connection with the bear and probably toilet paper. Why would you need fluffy kitchen roll? So we have this thing. Then we also have the cleans better, like the claim that fluffy, strong cleans better somewhere here. So trying to convince people that this product is better than all the others. The lifestyle ad with my beloved Coke Barbie dolls. And in the last one, that's an Austrian ad. It's a pun. You would not have to translate it really, or if you do, you can, you know, you should explain that that it's a wordplay in German. Well, yeah, makes sense as well. They're good in bio, so they are good at being ecological. It talks about the quality of the product and everything combined in like a big wordplay. So I guess that's also one of the strategies, trying to be like fun, trying to be creative. Yeah, I think that was it. Anything else that I thought was interesting? Yeah, make sure that for this topic or for the exam that you have a personal opinion. If I were you, I would also think about an ad that you like or dislike, something that's stuck in your brains because for being like particularly good or for being particularly bad. Most people do the same thing than Chris did and mentioned the XXX Lutz ad because the whole concept of like creating an own family is kind of new. Then they're kind of, well, annoying, but in probably one of those ways that helps the company because everyone can remember them. So I guess the whole thing makes sense, very interesting also concept-wise. So I guess it's an ad that perfectly lends itself for a description. Also have a look at different types of advertising. We only talked about it very briefly in the end when he mentioned the example. There's also billboard ads. They are usually super big and advertise stuff like the closest McDonald's restaurant and so on and so forth. Next to the road, makes sense. Radio advertising can sometimes be really good, I think. Sometimes I listen to the ads in the morning, like in the car, and there are some that are really well done, like acoustically, and you'd be able to remember them because they work quite well, I think. Yeah, I think the point with the subconscious was pretty good as well. Pointing out that even though, like in this massive, like in a world where there's so much advertising, let's put it that way, that we still notice advertisements, but probably more subconsciously than like really, well, consciously. That's the opposite of subconscious, because there's so many, but we still notice them, and I guess that also our shopping decisions are sort of influenced. But that is something for you to think about, something for you to discuss maybe in the exam. Which leads me to point 2, or to the second exam. It is on, sorry, it's on international trade. I think it is one of those topics that is globalization, linked to globalization. And therefore, maybe for correctness reasons, well, it is a part of globalization because we live in a globalized world. We needed international trade, and then we also needed bodies that regulate international trade. The bodies that are important in international trade are all in your books. That is organizations like the World Bank, for example. The World Trade Organization, obviously, as like the most important one. The World Health Organization, they are also part of the whole thing. So that is what is meant by bodies of international trade. My situation, sometimes for a change, you're not doing a presentation in your business class, but this time you're working for an international operating import-export company. As always, as you're always interested in employing new interns from Austrian schools, you're touring the country, holding talks in schools about the issue. Of course in English, because your headquarters are, I don't know, somewhere in London. And you want new interns because people in Austrian schools are fantastic. And, well, interns are Praktikanten, by the way. So you're holding a talk about the issue. In this situation, you are the expert and you are telling people about the topic, about why it is an important thing to know about international trade, what it is really, what it has to do with globalization maybe as well. Here we have the task. Introduce the topic of international trade. Talk about the definition of what international trade is. As I said, here you can include a good many things really. International trades of goods and services. You can also trade services really. So if you have some special skill, you can go, I wanted to say to England, but this might not be the best idea at the moment. You can go to Spain and, I don't know, practice the service that you're good at there. That is what is meant by international trade of services. So we can do that now as well, as everything is linked to the topic work, because you can go and work everywhere, apart from in England. Who the operating bodies are, which, well, anyway. The WHO, the World Trade Organization, and the World Bank, like what are they doing? They're quite important, all of them. The World Trade Organization is kind of the chair organization. They are the most important ones, really. The ones who arrange everything else. Brief historic outline, that's also in the book. So it is not, as many people say, a very recent development. It's been there earlier, so people have always been trading goods and services. Some facts and figures. There's a link to statistics that I wasn't allowed to post, or it wasn't, like, I can't show you the statistics. Or can I? Can I actually show you the statistics? Well, I will post the links in any case. Hello? Okay. Main computers. So that is the first part, that's the monologue. Fits your role as an expert on the whole thing. Your plan is you have to inform people because you want people to be interested in the whole thing. Then we're going to discuss the pros and cons of international trade. There are some people who say that it has more cons than pros because things like wage dumping and so on and so forth has started with international trade as soon as we figured out that we can also produce more cheaply in countries like India or Romania or whatever. The whole thing started, also linked with international trade. The pros are that we get so many different products from all over the world, so decide for yourself if it's a good or a bad thing. And then we're gonna talk about some general questions that are related to, well, offering goods and services abroad, going abroad for work, whatever. It is a quite broad topic. There's a lot of information on the certain institutions, on the history and so on and so forth. So I guess it is a topic for those of you who like to have a lot of background information to hold on to. Really one of those topics that you can really study quite well, or so I think. Anyway, are you ready?
Yes,
Right.
I am.
Should have changed. Anyway, I will try and remember the good things he says, because I forgot to change it into a PDF file, as always. Karina's never learning.
Unfortunately.
So I'll try and remember everything that you say. So, welcome to your
sorry.
English exam. Would you briefly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, of course. My name is Christopher, and I'm doing the A-levels because I want to become a historian.
Oh, nice. That is really nice.
Yes.
That is very, very nice. So you want to go to university and study the whole
Yes.
thing like properly from...
Super properly,
Super
actually.
properly,
Yeah.
well. That's really interesting subject, I would say. Well, not really related in this case tonight's topic, but you'll be fine.
Some points.
Well, some points are, definitely. Is English your first exam, or?
Yes, actually, English is my first exam,
Okay.
and I'm really nervous about mathematics.
Well, yeah, I would lie if I said that I can't understand you.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to become a historian and not a mathematician, so you'll be fine, I suppose.
Fortunately, yes.
Tonight's topic is international trades. Would you please tell us what the outline of your exam or your presentation is?
Yes, of course. So at first, I'm gonna have a look at the definitions, basically, of the most important institutions we encounter when we're speaking about the topic international trade, which are the WHO, the WTO, and the World Bank.
Yes.
And I'm gonna explain what those abbreviations mean.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna make an outline of the historic trade, so historic international trade, how international trade developed. And then I'm gonna look into some facts and figures on international trade.
Very nice.
And as I've said, I'd like to start with the first point, which is the definitions of what international trade is and what institutions there are. And basically, international trade focuses, as the word says, on a trade based internationally. So, and this is not that easy, since a lot of countries want to export and import things, and basically we want to, or countries are interested to do it in a peaceful way, and in a way that they can export the products and don't get sanctioned by any country or something. Therefore, we need certain institutions that help us forcing the trade of a country, for example, which those organizations are the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, which basically focuses around that certain services, trade, so to speak, products are traded in a peaceful way, actually, so that there are no conflicts or something like this. Then there is the World Bank, and the World Bank is actually an institution that focuses around reducing poverty and increasing the shared I'm sorry, today is not prosperity, and promoting sustainable development, of course. And then there is also another organization which actually focuses also, as the World Bank, on mainly third world countries, which is the World Health Organization, which is part of the United Nations. And this organization monitors the health, for example, of children in third world countries. For example, if there are war-torn countries, they really have to work hard to remain or provide sufficient healthcare and so on. So that's what they're for. And yes, then I'd like to continue with a quick historic outline. So basically, trade is a very old thing. Since China is still strong in trade,
Definitely.
it was also in the past that China was strong with trading products, and they didn't do it via plane or something. They used the Silk Road, the famous Silk Road, which was quite long, but it enabled to trade with other countries that are very far away, that were very far away. They're still far away, but and this enabled trade to flourish in a new way that hadn't been there until the Silk Road was kind of a common means for trade. And of course, then a lot of developments such as the railroads or something, or cars, trucks, then planes, and of course ships were also a big part of trade. Helped us to trade products in a faster way. And then, of course, we have statistics, and I just wanted to mention one of it. Here it is, and which is quite interesting. The world's biggest exporters is China, actually, closely followed by the European Union, and not by the USA.
United States.
But the United States are on the third actually in the world ranking. But in the import, the US are first and the EU are second. And China is third actually. So always those three, let's call them global players, since the European Union is not a country. And yeah, those are basically very interesting statistics, I'd say. And of course, there are also specific fields countries focus in. So for example, in Germany is motor vehicles, in Austria it's all about machinery and technical equipment also.
Oh yeah, that needs to be something that we are good at, apart
Yeah.
from skiing and stuff like that. You mentioned the global players already.
Yes.
Well, we all know that the States, the European Union as a concept, so the European countries and China, that they export a lot, which means that all the stuff that they export needs to be produced by someone. Keyword, bad working conditions. Do you see a connection between bad working conditions and the concept of international trade or globalization? Or
Yeah, there is a lot of connection, I think. So basically, if we take, for example, a company such as H&M, you're able to buy a T-shirt for around €5, I think. And of course, they're selling this product for €5, so they need to make money out of it. So you can calculate that they're making a profit or something like this that is maybe, I don't know, 2-3 years or something. And the other costs or the other amount that is left goes to trade. So for maybe flying in it by planes, normally they use ships. So, and of course there isn't much money left for the actual production, and therefore you have to produce cheap. And in order to produce cheap, companies produce normally in Asian countries, a lot of Asian countries, actually China. There is Vietnam is very popular, I think, and there is there it's possible to produce cheap products, and the labor conditions there are not that good actually. There's a lot of child labor, and even if there are not children that are suing or I don't know, doing other stuff that produce this product, there are grown-ups that don't get paid that well, and they don't have holidays.
No, true.
No holidays, so no holidays at all. So
we would agree that this is one of the biggest disadvantages of international trade, I suppose.
yes.
Because we don't have that much time anymore. If you had to pinpoint like the one biggest advantage of international trade for us people, like what would that be? Like something that we all benefit from, an aspect of international trade that we all benefit from normally. Like if you think of, I don't know, choices of, or like product, if you go shopping, for example.
Yeah.
Any ideas? What?
The thing is that I recently stopped buying products that are imported.
Oh, nice. Why?
Because actually it's an economical thing.
Okay.
Of course, I'm not a supporter of child labor or anything like this, but I think that we can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide and fuel that is used by trying to buy locally. Of course, the products that are sold in Saturn had to get here somehow.
Right.
But, for example, Amazon or something like this, it's fast, it's convenient, but it's not really good for our planet.
That's true.
And so very helpful, I think. Of course, Amazon can be helpful, I think so. But if you're like in Innsbruck, you can get almost everything except of specific music instruments, unfortunately. Yeah, but it can, of course, be beneficial since I can remember when I was a child and I wanted something really special and I found it on the internet and it was only available in the United States because I found the American website. And nowadays, those things have become very... Yeah, it was really seldom that there is something that I find and I can't buy in Europe. So, yeah.
Oh, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So you are especially for planet reasons, you're not the biggest fan of this concept of shipping stuff back and forth and being able to get everything, but on the costs of, or on the expenses of the planet, basically.
Yeah.
Am I getting you right in this?
Yes, exactly.
Well, that was a very nice, appeal to your audience. That was a very nice finishing line. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, very interesting exam. Well, the bullet points were fulfilled. It was a little too long, so it was more than the 3 to 4 minutes that you should speak. But then I guess at the end of the day, it's always some additional information. Talking about informations, you will get the links that I forgot to mention that. The links will be posted for both texts. Yeah, as I said, the monologue was maybe a bit too long. But then defining concepts such as the World Health, the World Trade Organization and the World Bank is, something that you can talk about a lot, really. He mentioned everything that is really important. So the World Bank's main task is to make sure that wealth is equally distributed in the world. Not doing that well, I would say. The World Trade Organization should monitor the fairness in trade. Well, probably also doesn't work that well if we see the conditions under which people in certain countries have to work in order for the country to be able to export stuff, but that's a different story. The World Health Organization is part of the United Nations, as he said. They're responsible for maintaining a certain level of hygienic conditions and so on and so forth in mainly third world countries as well. We mentioned all of that. Yeah, have a look at the statistics. Maybe, well, we all know that what he said. We all know that Germany is really good at exporting cars and stuff like that. But maybe you should have some examples. The UK is still quite good in exporting, well, energy of all different kinds. There's still some coal going on. There's a lot of dairy products and so on and so forth going on. So maybe you find some more examples than only Germany and Austria. Gives you something to talk about. The pros and cons of international trade. We didn't have that much time anymore. His point was quite interesting. He was kind of, well, avoiding having to talk about the pros because he turned the pro into a con. Quite clever strategy because criticizing the whole thing, well, you can't be criticized for criticizing really at the end of the day. He basically said, well, international trade is good because you get everything from everywhere, but for certain reasons like the environment we shouldn't, which is good. Had a good point, didn't think of that. The cons, well, we talked about them. Cons of international trade, child labor or unfair working conditions, wage dumping, as I said in the beginning, maybe the biggest ones. Yeah, so exams well done, I would say. We covered a lot of interesting aspects. I hope we could shed some light on the two topics. Is there any questions today?
So far not, but there has been a very active discussion about the things we talked actually. So for example, they talked about advertisement.
Oh, nice. I still like the topic. It's really good. If I were you and if I still had to do my A-levels, I would hope and pray for the topic of advertising, really, because it's a really good one.
But no questions?
No questions. Good.
Yeah.
Let us know if there are any. We will be back. I will be back next Monday, I think.